Good evening, good evening, good evening. We are back and live again with another episode of Women Who Win. I hope you guys have missed me like I have missed you. We took the month of July off after having some amazing episodes in May and June. And I think we are kicking July off with a bang once you meet my guest on tonight. So those of you that are watching, if you would go ahead and share this video on Facebook for me, as well as jump in the comments and let me know who you are and where you're joining us from so that we can say hi to you. Because of the platform that we're in, I can't see your name unless you comment. So please, please, please let me know you're watching. I see you, sis. Hey, Cheryl. So glad you're joining me. So I am going to read my guest bio so that we will have no further delay in bringing this amazing woman before you. So let me go ahead and pull up her bio. You guys still please jump in the comments and let me know who you are and where you're joining us from. So my guest tonight is Allison Todd. Allison is an operations and digital growth strategist. She's also the founder of Smart Inc. She helps micropreneurs scale their teams and their profits through operations and digital marketing strategies. With over 20 years of experience, she's helped more than 100 startups and businesses and mentored hundreds. She is still that girl who loves to research business challenges and create solutions. It is her goal to provide the type of advice that makes a difference for you and for your business. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Miss Allison on the screen. Good evening, Coach Allison.
Hello.
Hello,
Hi, how are
hello.
you?
I am well. Thank you so much for saying yes to being my guest on Women Who Win tonight. We have all of the ladies that have chimed in right now are from Atlanta. My sis Cheryl is on the line. She's down in Atlanta. My sis Charlene Evans is in the comments. She's also in
Hey,
Atlanta.
Charlene.
And Kenosha Keaton is also down in Atlanta. So thank you ladies for joining in on tonight. Before I jump into the interview, I always like to try to give a little bit of history of how I either know the guests or how I selected them. So about 2 years ago, I attended an event in Baltimore, and Allison was the keynote speaker. And when I tell you, and I'm not being flattering when I say this, she literally knocked my socks off. Like I was watching that her speak, and it was absolutely amazing. Not only the what she shared, but how she presented it. So much so,
Oh,
I told my sister
thank you.
Charlene about it. I was like, I don't know who she is, but when I tell you she rocked that stage.
Thank you, thank you,
So
thank you.
thank you, Allison. We also have Dr. K, Dr. Katrina Hutchins down in Florida on with us tonight, Deanna Brooklyn in Columbia. So thank you, ladies, for joining in. So, Allison, could you tell us kind of in layman's term, what do you do under your umbrella of Samar Inc. before we dive a little deeper into how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely. As I shared a little bit with you before, I used to think that being an executive assistant was what I was going to do. I was the person who kept things together, right? All the details I knew when and where. And it was because my dad had this amazing assistant who I love. Like she did everything. Shout out to Louise if you're listening. But as a result, I later found out that was not what I wanted to do. But I had learned operations and I have this dedication to people. So I combine operations and my knowledge of human behavior. And with that comes, oh, you said layman's. Let me, I
You
help people get their team together so your team doesn't keep you broke
okay?
and tell your story in a digital platform via all avenues. So your email, your video, your social media, all of that.
Okay.
And I coach you to success.
Okay. So you help us with our digital presence, you help us with our teams, and you help coach us to success. So let's backtrack to who you were before you were the amazing
Uh-oh.
Allison that you are today. So when I heard you share your keynote, those 2 years ago, you shared that you were originally is from St. Louis, right?
Yep, St.
So
Louis in the house.
okay. So what was your career path while you were in St. Louis? How did you what influenced you from those days to blossom into who you are today?
Good question. So, I am, and I remain very, very curious. So, at first, I was trying to learn jobs, but once I learned them, I was bored with it and I wanted to do something else. So, I was the 19 back then job hopper that they're calling the millennials now. But it was because I had a plan. I wanted to understand the people, and then I wanted to understand each level.
Mm,
Finally, I decided to start working in higher education because I wanted to be able to help people. This was going to put me in that place. But I also was a single mother of twins. And when the school called and said, your baby is sick, and I had to ask permission, and then I wasn't given permission,
mm.
for me, there was no choice. I'm a
Right.
firm believer in the position of parenting and advocating for your child. And here I was trying to work with other people's children, and you were telling me I had to have make a choice between mine and yours. Well, there is no choice. And so
Mm.
as a result, I called my good girlfriend. If Akila is listening, just upset. She knew how she knew that I was not lazy or not intelligent or, just didn't want to work or whatever those adjectives are. And I was heartbroken because here I am trying to be a great mom and a great person and make a living, but I have to
Mhm.
make a choice. So she said, try this thing called owning your own business. I said, girl, didn't you just hear me say I probably don't have a job, so I don't have any money? She said, no, you can be a salesperson for my business. And what we quickly learned is I was great in sales, but I was not that transactional person, right? I can
Mm.
include sales in the things that I wanted to do, but I had dreams and visions. So, shoot, I created my own business before social media was created. I'm gonna date
Mm.
myself. There was no Twitter back then. We were doing street teams and getting the girls together to put flyers on cars. Does anybody listening remember that?
Mm.
And to get the
So,
word out, we were giving the DJ gifts so he could mention what we were doing. It was serious. It was serious. Hard knock life.
wow, like some door to door type stuff.
Put it together and
Okay,
figure it
so
out.
um, you mentioned you were at that time a single parent of twin daughters, right?
Hmm.
So how did you manage to balance that once you decided, okay, I'm putting them first, I'm going to parent, but now I also want to launch into my own. How did you balance still being the amazing mother to them while you're also trying to build something, a legacy for them?
I was very blessed to have people who believed in me. My children's family, their village, which I would say was very supportive. So they understood that there were things I wanted to do. They understood that there were sacrifices I needed to make. But I left the house every day with a goal, like our
Mm,
grandparents did back in the day. And I came home every day with cash to pay for my services. And I believed then, even though I had a loving family who was willing to do so without, I knew that I had to pay a bill so that I could see further and earn the money I really envisioned. And
mm,
so we all worked in tandem together. I definitely would not be here without them. I didn't have to send my children to daycare. I shared my dreams about business with them, and we gathered. If it was my girlfriends who were babysitting my girls when I had to do business trips from their grandmothers, aunts, godmothers who were hanging
mm,
out day to day. So we had a system and the system worked, which is
mm.
why I definitely understand the village is alive and necessary.
Exactly. Your village, your tribe, your people that surround you are important. We've heard that several times from many of my guests how it was the people that surrounded them that supported them as they were growing and becoming. So
Mhm.
prior to becoming a mother, prior to um, even starting your business, did little Allison always dream of being in charge? And if so, who nurtured that?
Oh my goodness. My girlfriends from, listen, when Facebook happened, I was so excited to reunite with a ton of people who knew me before, right? Who could remind me of who I was then, because we grow up and we ourselves forget. And I remember a girlfriend sending me a direct message and said, "Listen, I remember you used to have us bringing suitcases and Barbie dolls who were our secretaries, and we would pretend to write on the wall. You remember that time we wrote on the wall and it wasn't erasable?" So I was the girl who always believed in business, right? I always believed in the process of working. I saw my father do it in a very ritualistic way. I mean, he retired from the place where he was hired from at 17. So I saw the levels and the appreciation, and I understood that a lot of things were happening in our life because he was about his business, and I wanted to be. Only I wasn't as disciplined as him. So corporate America was not the place to drop adventurous Allison in. And so I had to create a space. Let's just be real. Sometimes it doesn't matter if you got a ceiling or a table. You just need to create your own space where you can be all of you. And I needed to bring all of me. Hallelujah.
Yes, did y'all hear that? Somebody, she said, it don't matter if you have the ceiling or the table. Sometimes you just create the space where you can
Mhm.
show up and be all of you. I love that. I absolutely love that. So, mother of twins, you started your own business. Um, and did things immediately take off, or were you stepping on rocks and jumping over boulders to get to your next? Talk to me about your first few years in launching your own business.
Oh my wow. So there are probably a ton of people who I am, again, reach back and reunite. Facebook is the game. But there were a ton of people who love to listen to me talk about the power of my dream. And as a result, they positioned me and they helped to support when they could. And sometimes, let's just be honest, I know people who are hustling and everything they're doing then. I know people then who were hustling and everything that they were doing wasn't on board, right? But those were people who had the capital in order for me to be able to try out the things that I needed. And who better than me, the person who wants to change the world and also show you that my process, my way of building business works. Let me help you get from the hustling to the business for real. And that became a goal for me. Like I wanted to see, my brothers and my sisters to come off the street where they had plentiful revenue and put it into something they believed in. They were the people who convinced me to become a coach, because if you are coachable,
Mm,
you can do anything. And as many times as people would naysay against them, listen, we would meet in lounges and we would talk over cocktails. And I'm like, I also used to be manage a couple people in the musical arts, and I used to tell them, listen, when I get you out here to this person, I'm going to tell them who you are. I'm going to tell them your story. And when I give you the cue, you got to sing. We only have 10 minutes. And it's very similar. Um, I believe that business has to happen wherever, and I say business to include all things. And if I have to meet you where you are, if you in the lounge every Friday at 5 till 9, we don't need a calendar. I'm just gonna meet you where you are. And so that's a long way to say that at first I said yes to everything that was legal. I was a registered business. That was important to me. I had something to prove. And when I made my first 5-figure check, it solidified so many things in me. And it reminded me that did not have the relationship with money that I needed to if I wanted to be a millionaire CEO and
mm,
leave a legacy. So a lot of building business was about building self. Um,
mm.
I learned a lot from the people that I worked with. My clients were all different. I didn't even realize back then that I needed to stick to a certain target audience. So I had people who wanted to do dump truck warehouses, people who wanted to be singers, models, anybody who I can sell you. I could tell your story. So learning business as I grew in business, as I learned myself, as I grew myself. I'm very thankful that things like social media were invented. I'm mad that I didn't get in on the early .com, but where there's a will, there's a way. So here I am using the .com to get the .coin.
So you mentioned you learned that once you reached a certain level that you did not have the relationship with money that you needed to have. Um Dive into that a little bit. So for those that are still aspiring that or have not yet launched into their business, what do they need to do foundationally to be ready for when things expand and grow?
First of all, rule 101, and it's free. Have a personal checking account and a business checking account. Do not dump all of the money you make in your personal checking account, right? A lot of times, Allison thought she was rich when really it was just business funds to, recover or the profit from that. Um, it, Taxes were a horror. I never missed a year. Foundation. So um, make sure you have your business checking accounts in line first and foremost. File your EIN. Make sure that you're paying your annual dues every year with the Secretary of State. Never get behind on your taxes. Define after you have become a sole proprietor and you add a team or you add a partner, jump into your LLC or your C corp. Make sure that you have someone who can manage your money until you learn how to do it. Now, all of us can count money, so you have no excuse for who took what and did what with what. However, there are systems to money that I think are super important. Business credit. Sign up for your Dun and Bradstreet when you first begin. Get your 30 days line of credit so that you can start establishing yourself. Um, Make sure that you invest in a business address. That may or may not be your home address. I mean, you may be working from home or not have a physical address, but it's super important to have a business address, whether that's a post office box or another physical location, all of the separate. Operate your business like you're a brick and mortar, even if you're only 100% digital. Super important. And those are things I learned hard the first way. It was either I did it hard or I paid for it hard before I learned exactly how to do it. So I did invest a lot of money in people who were not there to serve me, had maybe great intentions, but not the expertise I needed, or didn't have great intentions. So I learned a lot about being a person in relationships, being a person in business relationships, being a person who was trusting. I'm still learning.
Yes, yes, and I'm glad you segue into that. You just dropped a load of tips. So you guys that are listening, if something resonated with you from that list that she just dumped on us of all those amazing business tips, go ahead and drop it in the comments. Um, so how did your relationships transition, or what did you learn about your relationships once you began to grow in business? Because I'm sure that there was a drawing to and a shedding away. That tends to happen.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So I am, again, operations is important. Having the framework, the team that surrounds your business and your brand to get ahead is super important. And there's so many ways you can do that, right? But in the beginning, because for me, business is family, right? I built my business sitting at people's living room tables and right? Business is family, business is community. So a lot of times, I would get ahead to get pushed behind because I was confused and thinking that my business was serving the community, and that's not what a profit business does. And what I mean by that is, I might be in, I've worked with some celebrities and entertainers, and I might be with them or out where there are some very passionate people in positions where they don't want to be and they want to join the force. And a lot of times, sight unseen, I'd be like, come on, let's go. And hire them without checking references. Oh my gosh. Oh, without really even getting to know them because I believed in the people. Well, I can volunteer and give back and be in a philanthropic lane without using my entire business and expertise as an experiment. And a lot of times, I just got on live today, excuse me, saying, building a team is like building a family. You have to invest in it. But just like building a family, just like when you date, you have to put the time and the due diligence in evaluating who you're connecting with. I didn't understand energy as deeply as I do now. And I didn't understand that when I bring
Ooh.
people around me who sit on gray clouds, if anybody out there understands what I'm saying, that I would also end up sitting on a gray cloud no matter how hard I was trying. I
Mm.
remember a very large influence in my business life was a client who is my first one here in Atlanta, and she's of celebrity life. And I remember her telling me, I have never invested in anyone like I have invested in you. I just knew you and I would go far. But it was because I added this community member to the team who did unspeakable things that she had to let me go. And it took me a long time to recover from. I felt that in my soul. I was like, no, we're a family. I
Mm.
get up when you ask. I'm there before you need to look for me. I have the solution before you're asking for it. What do you mean you let me go? I've run your business while you've been in 18 different countries, never to set foot in your hometown. What do you mean? And she said to me that my heart was amazing, but it was so enormous that sometimes it clouded my head. I think that took me out. I
Wow.
think that it took me out, but it was true. It took me
Wow.
out, but it was true. And it
That is
was
good.
then. Yeah, yeah. When you talk about lessons, that is one that I reflect on so often because I could see the mountaintop, if you will. I could see the
Mm.
lights. I could see my checking account going jing, 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 jing. We were working. We were building dreams. And so to have that stopped like a semi in the middle of 85 at 4:45 p.m. in Atlanta was excruciating. Just like if that happens, you don't know what to do. The car is spinning. It almost took me out.
Mm.
I stopped believing in myself because here is this woman that I admired doing
Mm.
business that I could dance around like we were meant to be, and she had the audacity to let me go. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, lessons. But it changed my whole life. It changed my
Uh,
whole way of doing business. Bet you won't find that mistake here, never no more. And I meant all of them ends. Bet you won't. I let you go
uh.
so fast now you didn't even get your W-9 in.
How did you recover from that? I mean, and cause to me, people who have a big heart, it's an innate thing. It's sometimes hard to rein in, but it can
All the
make you
time.
cloudy in business. So how
Absolutely.
did you recover? How do you balance that now? Because I'm sure your heart is still just as big.
It is, but this was so I'll go in further into the story to say that even after I got let go, I didn't let the community member go, and that's what I'll call him, my assistant. I didn't let him go. It was my job and my duty again to keep a team together. I had invested so much in training and teaching. You were part of the family, right? So even though I had been let go, I didn't let him go, and so
Mm.
I continued to work hard at business. I started taking, once again, I was of the level where I knew you didn't take any type of client, but at this point, I needed to recover the large percentage of profit I had just scratched. It never occurred to me that it was because of this person, right? He had to show me directly to the tune of digits negative in my bank account. He had to show me directly before I actually really got the lesson. Yes. So how did I recover? I was recovering while this was happening, thievery in every form and fashion. Turns out that's why I got let go. That's what he was doing over there. And I swore to, on, on my honor, I'm faith. I'm like to this woman, no, I have never, I will never had a need to take anything that didn't belong to me and wasn't given. You know how blessed I mean, I'm literally standing outside on my driveway. I'm so heated telling this woman and she let me go how blessed I am. I don't have to take from you.
Mm.
And it wasn't until he showed me, because apparently I should have let him go when she let me go, and I didn't. Believing that I needed to keep it together, I had something to prove. That was all my ego, right?
Mm.
Because I know good and
Mm.
doggone well when the client who's providing the income for the team member leaves, so should the team member. But how did I recover? I wrote a whole half a book and got stuck. That book is called a journal. And once again,
Oh.
I attribute a very strong support system. The
Mm.
village in my house right now they are unceasing. Um, they've been in it, and that's, you know, everyone who lives here, everyone's a family. Um, they've been in it since the beginning, so they knew what was happening. They were a part of the circle that I had involved the community member in. They understood the depth of loss because, you know, we went from hanging out on yachts to the dollar menu at Wendy's. Real talk.
Mm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
they felt it, they saw it.
Mhm.
I had put a lot on the line because I knew I could get it back. I had no, it was not in my vision at all that she would say, we can't do this anymore. I got to protect my business. I learned a lot. I learned how to be a woman with my word in my wisdom of my working place for my worrying self and stand up and say no. No became a very operative word. Thank you so much for all because people used to, like, I was active in social, so people used to DM me and you'd have thought I was somebody. I was just doing what I knew how to do. And I learned how to say no, thank you. Not right now. No, I can't do that. Well, here's
Mhm.
a website where you might find an internship, but I can't take you over. I learned very well, very long. It took me, I want to say, a year to really get back up and fly after that. I was
Mm.
unsure. I was unsure what had happened.
Mm. Mm. Wow, 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 wow. I see Charlene, and I think I put it on the screen. She said, "You are dropping some gems
Oh,
tonight."
thank you, love. Thank you.
Yes,
And you
yes.
know what? That's where confidence coach came from. You got me telling the full circle because I realized that if I couldn't tell that story to you, if I couldn't be honest with you about what happened, I wasn't the woman I was claiming to be. And I had to
Mhm.
own what happened. I had to own it with my family. I had to own because it was, you know, it was money that, you know, I wasn't watching because I didn't want to, and I had somebody, right?
Mhm.
I trust you sight unseen. It taught me that Atlanta was not our small town, St. Louis, and this wasn't the place where everybody knew my name. And
Mm.
things would happen where I had to learn how to guard myself, and that's constantly in business. People see you shine, they see one image on Instagram and swear you got seven figures in the bank and try to be your friend, and the story keeps going and keeps going. But at the same time, I don't want to make it all to the negative. It was being in the negative that
Mhm.
allowed me to appreciate the positive and soar
Yeah,
beyond it.
that's good.
It was being hurt by that situation that
Mhm.
allowed me to sharpen my senses and pay more
Yeah,
attention to what was happening. And one
yeah.
thing I will never do again, and
Mhm.
that's pass over a task to any team member that I can't manage, check on, tap into, understand. Now I got all kind of alerts. You got to go through 5 different gates to even get in your email. I'm not playing that game again.
Yes, yes. Lesson learned, you say.
The stories I could tell you, but you know we live. I don't want to. Yeah, I want to say it
Thank
with
you for your
grace.
transparency.
Yes,
Thank you so much. CJ said, "Never no more. Must use this."
yes,
Chantrice, I'm
yes,
hoping I'm pronouncing that right, said, "The power of the sacred no." CJ
yes.
again chimed in and said, "Guard yourself." Say, Miko, being in the negative allows you to embrace the positive. Yes, that was an amazing gem. And Chantrice again said, "That's very true. I've had people ask me for money, and I'm like, have you seen my bank account?"
And you know, back to that relationship with money, I used to give it out whether it was there or not. Ego.
Mm.
I used to give it out whether it was there or not because if you're asking me, you must need it. Back to I'm not a community organization, and I had to understand that. But I used to, you know, I thought I'd get $100 back on day one, and I want to give 25, 25, 25. Heck, if you got a good story, I might give you the 25, and I ain't, you know, I'll go back out tomorrow and make another 100. And I used
Mm-hmm.
to think that that was the way, my way of being, how I wanted to be. If you didn't have it and you had enough power to ask me for, I wanted to deliver.
Mm.
I don't
Mm.
know who I thought I was, but now I tell you, ooh, I'm a good old prayer. I'll pray over you like $1 million dropped out of your account yesterday. and we're gonna touch and agree, and there you go. Off you go. We got to hear one way or another.
Yes, yes. So oftentimes when we've gained momentum, we're moving along in business, we're moving along in life. Life has a way of teaching us lessons, helping to shape us into who we are becoming. Was that business transaction one of your hardest blows, or if you had to think about what has challenged you the most and grew you the most in life and or in business, what was one of those things that until you were on the other side of it,
Could
you
I
almost
not
didn't
see?
see yourself getting through
Mhm.
it?
So I think a lot of people know my story about when I got here. And if they don't, then we have to save that for another time because, again, back to you got to be able to reveal what's happening. The story that I told you all previously was at the end of a cycle of things that made me say, and it went a little bit like this. So I I went on. I wrote to the producers of the Oprah show, and long story short, my family, myself and the girls were filmed 3 weeks in the month of September this particular year. Oprah was the person for all my life. I was in high school. She's gonna be the next Oprah, right? This is who I thought I aspired to, right? I'm always the first person to speak. You don't even have to doubt it. They hand me a microphone and they know something's coming out of Allison's mouth. On this specific day, we sat down to tape. And I had thought about what I was going to say and how eloquent I was going to be. And I'm going to be on TV. And I told 50,000 people, watch me. And first of all, it was about the girls, but I'm in the audience and I'm getting ready to say something and I'm ready. 15 minutes in the tape and I raised my hand. Miss Winfrey, um, when will we have the opportunity to share our comments and questions? So I was ready. She said, well, the opportunity passed 15 minutes ago while we were taping. Where you been? That was number one. So I did all this to get so far. And, I'm a believer of affirmation. And I wrote this letter and the producers called. And here we are in Chicago. And what you mean I missed the whole opportunity to say something?
Mm.
Number one, because that was getting ready to change my whole life. I saw my whole life changing. I was
Yes.
getting ready to be one of those people, right? We just gonna chit chat. She's gonna think I'm amazing. And boom,
Everything had transitioned.
I went back home.
Mm.
I had dropped everything because I believe in myself and I believe in my vision, and I had to figure out what was next. Um, Ended up being at one of our local St. Louis breakfast spots. And this lady comes in, and again, I have to be very careful not to say these names. Lady comes in, she's a very popular singer of a specific genre. Long story short, she knew who I was dining with. They had gone to school together. And so who I was dining with was a family member who I hope people can follow this, who was singing my praises, saying, I heard you needed a business manager, and this girl right here could sell your glasses to a blind man, and blah, 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 blah. And the community member, that's what we're calling them, says, okay, we'll prove it. I was all about proving it. That ego led first. So she said, in 24 hours, I'd like for you to book me a concert at a venue. And full house. Otherwise, I will not perform. To most people, that probably would have shocked them. But to me, I was like, you don't know me. That happened. Booked, solid, people outside the space. She couldn't believe how it happened. All right, come with me on this 13 city tour. And some people who know this story are now saying, ooh, let's go get the popcorn. Long story short, again, where your heart will lead, you allow yourself to be all of you. And my light was too bright for the 100th time in my life. This woman left us in a different state after 2 hours after all of our things had been stolen. So no ID, no wallet, no nothing. And she gets ghost because we had just made her mad. Me and my assistant. Long story short, I made my way back home, but now it's 2 defeats in a row, right? This is the next quarter. I thought it was going to be something I could take these tours. I didn't show her. We have packed. I told the family bye. Got the kids situated. Now I got to call back home because somebody got to bring us back home because I have nothing.
Mm.
Then the show aired. I had a person who was willing to sponsor the girls based upon the story of the show. But when the show aired, the way that it was edited, and we all understand editing, the piece that they needed to see was not aired. Thus, that deal was dropped. So 1, 2, 3, boom. Now I'm angry. Nothing's working out. What is this? Again, these black clouds are happening. I decided to sue the lady. In between there, I have fallen in love. I'm back in Chicago where September started, but now we're in a full swing of the next year because I'm getting ready to sue this woman who left me, the community member, on a national court show. Woo! I'm glad that lady don't have that show. Y'all might be Googling right now. And she literally, and she is well known, Piro. I will go ahead and let that out. Judge Piro. She made such a fool out of me and the community member that I was just mortified. I watched Law and Order all my life. I was going to win this case and redeem my life and start my business back up and get back on track. I was still working, but these were like my major moments. Woo!
Mm.
When that lady started making fun of us and not taking me seriously and not letting me present my evidence, and I got so upset. I walked out again defeated. And what I had told myself is I could not. I had to reset immediately. And I worked hard on just speaking things out loud and affirmation. And I felt really alone. And I had post-its all over my house, just reminding myself, keep going. Don't give up. You almost there. That's why this is happening. Well, happy ending happened. I ended up, we'll skip all the glory bells and whistles because I don't even know what time it is, but I ended up in Atlanta. The world happened just like this. Like people like,
But
what are
how
you up
wedding
to?
bells? Wedding bells is what brought you to Atlanta.
No, it was a U-Haul. But yeah, and so it was a cycle. I thought that when I was leaving, right, that I was leaving this all behind. And then I came here still gravitating towards community members. And then I had the situation I told you all about previously. So what that told me is that I needed to slow down. I needed to listen. I needed to stop running and chasing after something that wasn't intended for me. And that's when strategy became, I literally can remember, that's when strategy became my thing. I was sticking the big post-its on the wall and I was retracing my steps. That's how I got the 9 chapters to my book. I'm losing my ear pod. That's how I got the 9 chapters to my book. I'm retracing the steps. Like, where did you go wrong? And what were you doing? And ego became a lot of that. So I wanted to help business owners to get out of their own way, to be okay with saying, I oopsed and I will recover. And I did recover in such a magnificent way. And I'll just tell you all, for the people who didn't know, 28 days after I moved to Atlanta, he received a prognosis and said 5 months to live. We in love. I'm down here in the U-Haul. I've had this horrible time. He has swept me away from all that. I don't even have to work if I don't want to. And boom. Can you imagine me saying, well, Jesus, I thought you had. I thought everything we went through last year was me learning and teaching. What you mean? So that began the fight of our lives. And victory, when someone says this shall be that and this wasn't that, victory meant I could do anything. And that's exactly what I believed. And life turned around. And that's the story you heard when we met.
Yes, I am
Yeah.
this, and that.
Yes, all of it.
So where, and this will be the last question I'll ask you before we transition into you sharing how, what you have to offer and how people can contact you. You mentioned strategy, and that's what I heard as you were talking. You had to learn how to fight strategically because you kept getting blow after blow after blow after blow, and in order to keep moving forward, you still had to continue to welcome community, and you still had to get up and lead. You still had two daughters, I'm sure, watching your every move because they are becoming. What was the drive that said, Allison, this next breath is worth the next step? Like, did you ever feel like white towel, it's been real, or are you just innately that type of fighter?
No. Let's just be all the way honest. There were days where I didn't know like I thought I had all the answers. I had exhausted all the answers. I had a big bay window where I reorganized the furniture. They thought I was losing it. I put one big chair in front of the window and I would just sit and look and think. And I had never been still. I had never, since giving birth to my children, I just hadn't taken time to be still, to think about it. I was always moving on to the next. It's okay, leave that behind, keep going. Well, if you leave everything you learned behind, the path you're intended to be on, you won't ever put a foot on it. If you leave everything you've learned behind, you'll still walk the wrong direction until those lessons in that path catches up with you.
Yes.
And it wasn't until the fight was life that I realized stillness is the answer. Listening
Stillness
to
is the answer.
you have to listen to yourself. I spent a lot of time trying to be outward, and I wanted to go to the judge, and I wanted the judge to say the lady was wrong, and I wanted her to humiliate her on television the way the lady had humiliated me. I don't ever have to call you and ask you for some money or a ride home. Daddy taught me better, right? But in this instance, she put me in those positions. Stillness taught me that it wasn't her that did that to me. I had to own the choice. And when I was able to own the choice, I was able to learn from the choice. And when I was able to learn from the choice, I was able to forgive myself. And when I was able to forgive myself, when I stood up, it felt different. When I spoke out, it sounded different. And when I closed the deal, it was solid. You got to learn from where you're being to get where you're going.
You about to make me pull out a Kleenex in here because I think you're trying to preach on me or something.
Listen, we got to be able to tell our stories. We got to be able to share our truth. It's people out there fighting to make it to their next meal. And the next meal come off the dollar menu at Wendy's. When I tell you it was 3 months and the only thing people talk about now, how I take the girls out or we'll go out and have an experience, right? Even though Mr. is a good old chef and can cook most of what we'll go, I take them out to have an experience because it was some days when you talk about how did they know? Because the only restaurant they got was the dollar menu at Wendy's. And that was an experience. That's how we gonna go out. And I'm not, I used to, again, ego used to make me feel like, ooh, I can't say that to people in charge what I charge. Well, where you been? What your bank account look like? What you been through? Because we're not supposed to look like what we've been through. But the feeling on the other end, and I testify, but I do not clarify right now that I'll never have another storm or another path. It's just a strategy. You got to get out. Because if you sit in it too long, it'll take over. And I used to tell, and I still will say to people, friends, when they, lose a spouse or lose a job or lose an opportunity, I'm going to give you 2 days to feel everything you need to feel. Then I'm going to check on you. I'm going to give you 2 more days to figure out what you want to do. Then I'm going to check on you. And after the next 2 days, I'm going to show up and we got to make a move. Because just like being in a storm when the flood comes, if you sit still, you guaranteed you're going to lose. If you make a move, it's no guarantee you're going to win, but you're certainly going to get further than you would if you sat still while the water just going up and up and up. So even now, my girlfriends will all tell you, if a loss happens, I don't guarantee to be the strongest person, but I definitely can be your support. I used to tell them, look, I don't need to see you. I'm going to sit right here on the curb. I need you to know I'm outside. And if you want to reach for me, you can. I'll be here for 30 minutes and then I'm going to leave. But if you call me for these certain days, you get a pass, I'll come back. And it's just about building the village around you, being able to be honest in your truth, being able to say, I used to didn't have, and now I know how to get, so I'm going to go get and grow. understanding that those stories and those lessons are a part of the story we tell today. Because if somebody's struggling just like you were 5 minutes ago, they might need your word to keep going. And what I discovered is, after I got here and that happened and we survived that, girl, I will tell all kind of whatever story you want me to tell, because we can make it. We got to get there,
Yes, yes,
especially right now.
yes,
Especially right now.
yes. So you guys heard her say that as soon as not too long after they moved to Atlanta, there was her Mister, she calls him, was given a 5-month prognosis, but they beat that. Yes, 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 yes. So I'm going to acknowledge some comments before we segue into landing this plane, because you done took us up some altitude. My friend Tramika in Charleston, my sister, says she has a whole watch party going on. This is wealth and
Oh,
wisdom.
thank you.
Nico chimed in again. Victory, I can do anything.
Yes,
Chantry
you
said
can.
resilience. That's my sorrow.
Hey, babe.
My sis Cheryl said, come on. Chantrice again said, preach. Stillness is the answer. All these gems you were dropping. Own the choice, learn from it, forgive yourself so you can be solid, learn from where you've been so you can get where you are going.
Amen.
Good, good, good. Let's see. Chantry said, so thankful Allison is a part of my village.
Yes,
Yes,
Toro. Yes.
yes. And Charlene says, praise God. Yes, he beat it,
Hallelujah.
honey. Yes. So, Allison, tell us that are watching how we can follow you, how we can get in contact with you. I've heard you mention some books. How can we get more of Allison in print or in one-on-one sessions? What do we need to do?
Yes, yes. So, you could go to my website, AllisonTodd.com, where you can contact me, get access to any of my books. The one book that is not on there is the one that I reference, and that's because I am going to release it digitally at the last quarter of the year.
Okay.
Um, you can also join my group, Position the number 2 Profit.com. I am in there sharing all of my gems from operation, team building, digital marketing, specifically while people are safe at home. It's important to me that I be able to share as much as I can for as long as I can. So a lot of that in the group is at no cost. There's an additional membership should you decide that you want to grow greater. And all of that is available via AllisonTodd.com. You can
Okay.
find me on any social channel. I am as active gets. Facebook and Instagram is Coach Allison Todd, just like it's listed here. Um, Find me on LinkedIn. Let's connect. Join my 10,000 network because I love to connect with people. Find me on Twitter at Allison Smiles. That's Allison, my name, and Smiles.
Mm-hmm.
And let's stay connected, because I think this is the time and the space and the place for us to have the conversations to grow beyond wherever we're growing and get to the goodness, right?
Mm.
Um, I'm still about community, but that's why I created a group, right? So that people could come and gather and get what they need. I'm always trying to support people. All my lights flashing around here. I'm always trying to support people in the best way that I can, while still giving myself grace and being honest in the word no.
Yeah, yeah. So you guys heard those. I typed the position to profit.com and AllisonTodd.com. I will share some of her other handles once I share the video. And also, for those of you who want to stay connected with this Women Who Win broadcast, because we have some more women coming up for the rest of the month and even into September, if you guys would email me at simplytammy543@gmail.com, I'm going to be sharing additional information about how you can get products and connect with my guests that I won't be sharing online, but you have to connect with me via email to get those. So make sure you connect, and I'll be able to share all of the details that Allison just shared. Once her information comes out with her releasing her new book, I'll be sharing that information and keeping you guys that connect to me abreast of what the guests who have been on the show are doing. So, Allison, whew, you have given us a well and wealth of information. one of my sis, Reggae, said that she said sit still, and she said, you know, I have a short attention span, but she could not leave this one. And believe
Oh,
me,
thank you.
if you captured her, you were dropping some gems. Yes. So in the last few minutes, from any aspect of life as a mother, a wife, a business owner, a CEO, what do you want to leave with the people that are watching or will watch this broadcast as a point of inspiration or encouragement?
Oh man, you're gonna fall, but get back up.
Mm,
You
yep.
are going to fall, but get back up. And sometimes get so good at the challenge that you don't mind walking toward it versus away from it.
Yeah.
Um, and I also believe that people need to believe in dreams more. You don't have to be like anyone else. You were uniquely designed.
Mm-hmm.
Your name has a definition, your life has a destination.
Mm-hmm.
Allow that to be. And that begins by believing what's in your head and your heart, putting it together with a good old plan. And I can help you with that because I believe we all need to live our legacy while we're here and leave our legacy once we're gone.
Mm, that is good. Honey.
I love you, Tammy. I love you.
What I said, you about to make me throw you a microphone and a handkerchief in the pulpit and be like, you better
Listen,
preach, Allison.
I told you, I'll give you a good prayer. I pray us on to the tricklings of $1 trillion. Yes. We
Yes.
gotta keep going. Whatever
Yes.
your faith may be, whatever you believe in, know that you need to do that and believe in yourself. Have
Mm-hmm.
faith in who you believe in, but also have faith in yourself. Nobody can tell you what you can or cannot do. And with Google.com around, a lot of you just are underestimating the power of reading.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Google it.
Oh, yes. Use the resources
Don't
that
copy it. Just Google it. Hold on.
right. Google it to read it, but not to print it under your name like you came up with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dig deep into your dreams so that you can soar.
Yes, yes, yes. Does in these last few minutes, does anyone, if you can type quick enough, have a question for Allison? I will take one question if you type it quick enough. Um, if not, we're getting ready to wrap it up. Um, Charlene reiterated what you said. Your name has a destination. Your name has a definition, and your life has a destination. Reggae said, Google it. Miko said, live your legacy while we are here. And I think she was trying to type the rest of it. Leave your legacy once you're
Yeah.
gone. CJ
Yeah.
said, thank you, Allison.
Thank you, guys.
And trees, you have to live your legacy and leave a legacy. So thank you
Absolutely.
guys for watching. Allison, thank you so much. I know you are extremely busy. So when you said yes to this, I was elated. Like I told you, I still have that brief segment that I recorded from your
I love
keynote
that.
that I watched a few weeks ago, and I'm like, I still watch it like I wasn't even there, and got mad because I didn't record the whole
A
thing.
whole thing. Yeah. And Tammy, I will tell you that as soon as you called, I remembered that day. You were one of the first people to greet me and tell me how much my speech had moved you. If you only knew what I had gone through before I hit that stage. And you told me then, and you tell me now, unwavering. I recorded 9 minutes, but I wish I had got the whole thing. So when you called me, it was without a doubt that I would appear here. So happy to be the first guest after your break. But you exemplify exactly the person I'm talking about. Loyalty is a commodity, right? And being able to give praise in places where you stand tall or where you don't is absolutely character building. But being consistent with it, it's years later, and you still are shining my praises over one conversation, one speech, one keynote. And to that, I give thanks. That's what we need in our women today, tomorrow, and yesterday. That's how we're going to be women who win. Thank you.
So you just want me to lay all night on my floor. You don't even want me to finish my segment. Is that how we're gonna end this? And I don't cry, but you about to try to mess me up. Okay, so
Hold your tears. Hold your tears.
oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay. So we are wrapping up. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Allison. You guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing the video. Tune back in with me next week. You will see me posting who my guest is, or if you email me to join me, you will know before everyone else know. So Allison, if you could just hang out with me for a few minutes in the studio, we're going to go ahead and end the broadcast. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Allison, thank you so much
Thank you,
for
guys.
just being who you are and doing what you do.